So I'm a terrible salesman. I'm a decent artist, but a terrible salesman. And I recently met another terrible salesman like me who helped me realize why. We had lunch together, Tie 9, and I learned that apparently he and I are both synthesizers, his word. This meaning someone who can see connections between an explosion of many different points of view and can combine all of these in many really cool ways. But when it comes time to precisely describing what results another person will get from our combined creations, a single sentence is just not our strong suit at that point. Now, I've met a lot of people who struggled with this, regardless of their field of study, their job, or their vocation. For the last 2 years, I've been part of a mastermind group of speakers and performing artists, and I've had 2 signature talks over that same time. And I've often been asked to describe what it is I actually do. And I find myself replying with some variation of, well, you just kind of have to experience it. Yeah, that never won the heart of an event planner, so I had to craft my elevator speech, and I want to share that process with you now. One of the things we had to figure out early on was what style of speaker we wanted to be. Now, regardless of whether your passions involve being an actual speaker in the traditional understanding of that occupation, you're always going to need to give voice to your passions before any of these, and actually so that they can become part of your physical reality. Okay, so when you talk to people about something that you care about immensely, which, if any of these 3 styles, do you feel best describes you? And as a helpful hint, don't limit yourself here, man. There's actually plenty of adjectives out there. These are just the more common 3 as it relates to being a traditional speaker. For me, man, this was an interesting exercise because I decided I have no business whatsoever trying to motivate you or transform you. So those first 2 options were out. I thought those were up to you. I'm a stickler for word choice. And in this case, the words motivate and transform, those sound too active to me to be exercised on another human being. I feel the best that I can hope to do is inspire you to take those actions for yourself. Motivating and transforming, no, those are a responsibility I don't want to rob anybody of. So, however, if you find me on Facebook, I am listed as a motivational speaker. And that's only because they recognize that single style. That's a Facebook limitation, folks. It's been very difficult to craft this so-called elevator speech that you apparently need so that you can tell people what you do as quickly as possible. But what if you only have 20 seconds? Or in some situations, 10 seconds? Or just 5 seconds because they're trying to hop off the elevator. Time limits, man, these are stressful. But it's also stressful for those of you who are being chased off the elevator when someone else's mouth is going a million miles a second trying to cram a bunch of words in 5 seconds. I found that crafting a message and a mission statement actually to be a heck of a lot more helpful. Now, there's various ways of doing these, but the following 2 equations work pretty well for me. The message equation. In this one, I help blank overcome blank so that they can blank. Imagine that. Filling in the blanks to this equation will help you identify 2 things: your audience and your message. I discovered mine to be I help students and young adults overcome their fears so that they can make bold, heartfelt decisions. Yeah. And now the mission equation. Now whereas the message equation on the last slide helps you identify your audience and your message, this mission equation will help you identify the final outcome that your niche audience should experience. I found mine to be, once they make bold, heartfelt decisions, they will become compassionate communicators who empower themselves and everyone in their path. Yep, that's my mission. It currently is, and it does evolve as I do, as I speak more. So use these 2 equations as a guide, but allow yourself to grow. You're going to anyways. So cool. Now that I've identified your message, actually you hopefully have identified your message, your mission, and your speaking style. All right, what the heck are you going to talk about now? All right, so topics or themes. This is often the first question I get asked as a speaker, especially by the event planners. They want to know if your message aligns with their event. Imagine that. The way that my mastermind group went about discovering this was to write down our most critical life story. And by critical life story, I mean the thing that you consider to be the most important event or series of events that you feel have defined who you are today. Write that story. And it might take a while. Just as one example, it took me about a month to think about and write down the first draft of my stories. So don't feel bad if this feels like an overwhelming exercise. This story encompasses long periods of time across your entire life. So it probably should feel somewhat overwhelming, at least initially. But I can tell you it's been well worth the pain. All right, now take your finished story 1 month from now, if you're as slow as I am, and review it. What themes do you see running throughout your entire story? As a traditional speaker, those are going to be your topics. But traditional speaker or not, those themes or the topics that you've identified, these are probably going to be the things you are best positioned to speak about, to give voice to, and especially if you feel a very strong emotional connection to them. My story was about my journey from 26 years of mental health medications to sobriety. I wrote about the before drugs, during drugs, and the after drugs timeframes of my life, choosing just the pivotal moments of each of these to weave a cohesive narrative. In doing this, teased out many topics for me, including these: compassionate communication, serving others with our unique life purpose, indeed, and facing fear and making bold decisions because of that. So in summary, if you are a synthesizer like me, or someone who's had a hard time precisely explaining what it is that you do so that you can better sell to and serve your audience, I've found that the following approach is very helpful. Start off, number one, by identifying your communication style. Are you persuasive? Are you inspirational? Are you some other adjective? Number two, look at that message equation that we talked about to discover who your audience is, how you want to serve them. Number three, move on to the mission equation and use that to identify the outcome you want your audience to have. And lastly, and this is probably the most important one because it ties into all of them, write that life story. Write your life's most impactful story so that you can tease out all the topics or the things that you care the most about. These are the things that you have the most emotional connection to. That's it for today, guys. Peace out. Oh yeah, and that bag. What the heck was that bag doing in the corner? The duffel bag in the corner of the elevator, dude. What's up with that? Yeah? You want to know? Well, you're just going to have to ask me in person one day.